Sometimes when we go wandering off the beaten path, we find things we were never meant to see. Forgotten towns swallowed by time, trails that don't appear on any map, and places where the world feels wrong, like it's holding its breath, waiting for you to step just a little too far. Tonight, I've got 3 true stories for you, each one about a traveler who went looking for a little adventure and found something much darker waiting for them instead. Places abandoned for a reason. Places that don't stay empty like they're supposed to. If you're the kind of person who likes exploring where you shouldn't, you might want to think twice after these stories. Let's begin. Story 1. The Forgotten Town. It all started because I needed to clear my head. A lot had been going on. Work was a mess. My phone never stopped buzzing, and honestly, I was starting to feel like I couldn't even breathe right anymore. So I packed light. Just some water, snacks, my flashlight, and I decided to hit a trail nobody really talks about anymore. Locals call it Miner's Road. No one uses it, no signs point to it. You've got to know where to look. And maybe there's a reason for that. The trail started easy enough. Birds chirping, soft wind through the trees, dirt under my boots. I actually started to relax for the first time in weeks. I didn't even look at my phone once. But after an hour or so, everything just shifted. The trees started crowding closer together. The path got thinner. And the sky, where it used to be bright blue, started getting swallowed by the branches above. It got darker way too fast, like the forest was closing the door behind me. I thought about turning back. I did. But right then, I spotted it. A rusted metal sign, almost hidden behind vines and moss. I wiped it off with my sleeve and squinted to read the letters. Welcome to Carrion Creek. Never heard of it. And trust me, I grew up hiking these mountains. Past the sign, the trail dipped down into a shallow valley. And there, like something out of a dream, or maybe a nightmare, was a town. Completely abandoned. Crooked houses, windows shattered, roofs half collapsed. A dirt main street so cracked and overgrown it barely looked like a road anymore. There were rusted street lamps leaning sideways like drunkards. An old general store, its front door swinging open just slightly in the breeze, creaking every few seconds. The whole place reeked of old wood, rust, and something else, something sweeter, like fruit left out to rot in the sun. Most people would have turned around right there, but not me. I was curious. Stupidly curious. I stepped down into the valley and wandered through the town. Every footstep sounded way too loud. Gravel and broken glass crunched under my boots like gunshots. There were things scattered everywhere. Old children's toys, a bicycle missing a tire, a half-buried rocking horse with peeling paint. And then I noticed it. Footprints. Fresh ones. Leading between the houses. Some were small, child-sized. Others were massive, way bigger than any boot I'd ever seen. The prints sunk deep into the dirt, like whatever made them was heavier than it should have been. I told myself it had to be animals, maybe bears, maybe. But bears don't drag things. And over all the other sounds, the creaking wood, the distant bird calls, I could hear it. That dragging, something heavy being pulled through the dirt and gravel, slow and deliberate. My heart started hammering against my ribs. I thought about turning back. But just ahead, I spotted something even weirder. The mine entrance, built right into the rocky face behind the town. Boards nailed across it, broken and rotted with age. A faded sign hung by a single nail. Danger, do not enter. Yeah, that's when I heard it. A noise from deep inside the mine. A wet scraping sound, metal on stone, and something else, breathing. Deep, rattling breaths, like whatever was inside that tunnel had lungs full of rocks. I didn't wait around to find out. I backed away, slow at first, until a loud crack echoed from the mine, like something big snapping free. I ran, harder than I've ever run in my life. The town twisted around me as I sprinted, buildings leaning at wrong angles, casting crooked shadows across the street. I swear the ground felt like it was moving under my feet, pulling me back. Behind me, I heard it. Footsteps. Heavy, slamming into the earth like sledgehammers. And then came the sound that still haunts me. A shriek. Not human, not even close. It was metallic, like a scream twisted through rusted pipes, broken and wet at the same time. I ducked behind an old church, panting so hard I thought my lungs would give out. I peeked around the corner, and I saw it. Something was stalking up the street toward me. Tall, skeletal. Its skin stretched so thin over bone it almost looked translucent. Its arms were too long, dragging behind it, nails scraping along the ground. Where its face should have been, there was just a twisted mess of features. A crushed nose, a lipless mouth drooping open, gums peeling back from black teeth. No eyes. Only two deep, dark holes that seemed to suck in the little light left around it. In one of its grotesque hands, it clutched an old miner's pickaxe, bent, rusted, and dripping with something black. It lifted its head suddenly, like it could smell me. I didn't wait to find out if it could. I bolted, weaving between the dead buildings. I didn't care where I was going. I stumbled into an alley where rusted tools were scattered, broken chairs and crates piled high. I knocked a barrel over as I ran, and it clattered across the ground behind me, loud enough that the thing shrieked again, angrier this time. I could hear it thundering after me. Closer, closer. I spotted the trailhead up ahead, the broken sign, the thin path winding back into the woods. I forced my legs to move faster, lungs screaming for air. Just as I reached the start of the trail, I risked a glance over my shoulder. It was standing there, right at the edge of the town, watching me. It didn't move, didn't chase. It just tilted its head, the way a dog does when it hears something strange. Then it raised one long, spindly finger and pointed right at me. I didn't stop running until I reached my truck. I slammed the door shut, peeled out of there so fast my tires kicked up clouds of dust. I didn't look back once. When I got home, I locked every door and window. I didn't sleep that night. Couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw it, standing in the woods, waiting, smiling that awful broken smile. But the worst part, the next morning, when I finally worked up the courage to step outside, I found them. Footprints. Fresh ones. Small, child-sized prints leading up my driveway. And next to them, giant, heavy ones. Pressed deep into the earth, standing still at my front door, facing the house, like it was waiting to be invited inside. Story 2. The place behind the fences. I was never the type to sit still, especially at night. My friends and I used to kill time exploring abandoned places around our town, old factories, broken down malls, forgotten houses where the walls were more graffiti than paint. Most of it was harmless. Until we found that place. It wasn't marked on any maps. No posts about it online. It was just there, tucked between warehouses on the edge of the industrial park. A huge building surrounded by chain-link fences, overgrown weeds swallowing the sidewalks. No signs, no logos. Just a cracked driveway leading to a heavy set of metal doors. We should have left it alone. But you know how it is when you're 17. Curiosity feels bigger than common sense. It was me, Kyle, and Ethan that night. We slid through a hole someone had already cut in the fence. Easy. And when we pushed on the doors, they swung open without even a squeak. That should have been the first red flag. Inside, it was pitch black. The kind of darkness that feels thick, like you're wading through it. Our flashlights barely made a dent in it, just weak cones of light bouncing off concrete floors and walls. The building looked half finished, or maybe half demolished. Exposed pipes ran along the ceiling. Broken glass crunched under every step. There were old lockers lining the halls, doors hanging off their hinges. And the smell. God, the smell. Like damp earth, mold, and something else underneath it all. Something rotten. We started moving deeper, calling out jokes to each other to shake off the nerves. At first, it felt like the usual adventure. Then we started finding the rooms. The first one was small. Walls lined with white tiles, most cracked or missing. Chains hanging from the ceiling. Some still had broken handcuffs attached to them. Kyle made a joke about some 50 Shades stuff, but none of us really laughed. The second room was worse. There were rows of beds, rusting metal frames, thin mattresses stained dark with age or something else. Ethan ran his hand along one of the bedposts, then yanked it back fast. "Barbed wire," he muttered, showing us a deep scratch on his palm. We thought about turning back. We did. But then we found the stairs, leading down. The kind of stairs you don't want to know where they lead. The concrete steps were narrow, crumbling at the edges, disappearing into the dark like the mouth of a cave. I don't even remember who suggested it. All I know is we started down, flashlights shaking in our hands. At the bottom was a door, steel, bolted at the edges, and someone recently had peeled those bolts back, enough to slip through. We squeezed inside one by one. The air changed immediately, colder, wetter, and worse, it felt wrong. You know when you're underwater and you can feel the pressure in your chest? It was like that, like the air itself was heavier. We were in some kind of underground chamber, huge. Our flashlights barely touched the far walls. There were shapes piled in the corners, mannequins at first glance, plastic arms and legs twisted at strange angles. But when I stepped closer, I realized they weren't mannequins at all. They were bodies, mummified almost, shriveled skin stretched tight over bone, empty sockets where eyes should have been, mouths frozen open like they'd been screaming when they died. I stumbled back, bile rising in my throat. Kyle was whispering, "No way, no way, no way," over and over. Ethan just stood there frozen. That's when we heard it. Movement. Somewhere deeper in the chamber. At first, it was just a soft, dragging sound, like someone pulling something heavy across the concrete. Then the breathing started. Deep, rattling gasps, like a smoker on their deathbed. We whipped our lights around. Nothing. Only shadows piled up against the walls. Then I caught it. A figure, at the far edge of the room, bent over, crawling on hands and knees. Its limbs were too long, bones poking sharp under its thin, leathery skin. Its head lolled to one side, neck bending at a sickening angle. It twitched when our lights hit it. Then it screamed, not like a person, like metal tearing apart. A screech that rattled my teeth. "Run!" Kyle shouted. We turned and bolted back toward the stairs, but it was fast. So much faster than it should have been. I could hear it behind me, flesh slapping wet against the floor, claws scraping concrete. We scrambled up the stairs 2 steps at a time. Kyle slipped halfway up, and I swear I felt fingers graze my back as I yanked him upright. Somehow we burst through the door at the top, slammed it shut. I leaned my whole weight against it, heart pounding so hard it hurt. For a second, nothing. Then bang, something slammed into the other side of the door, hard. The metal buckled inward with a groan. We ran. Didn't even think about the broken glass slicing up our shoes. Didn't even check if Ethan was still with us. We just sprinted for the front doors, lights swinging wild across the hallways, throwing crazy shadows across the walls. When we reached the outside, we didn't stop. Not until we were back at Kyle's car, gasping for air. Ethan was with us, thank God, bleeding from a gash on his arm, but alive. We didn't talk about what we saw. Not that night. Not the next day. Not ever, really. But every once in a while, when I'm alone at night, I think about it. I think about how the metal door had been ripped open from the inside. How the fences were there not to keep people out, but to keep something in. And how, as we drove away that night, I swear I saw something watching us from the broken windows. Tall, bent, smiling.